What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. Going to talk about Gabriel Perez's Mystic Piper deck that he got top 4 at YCS Long Beach. First off, we're going to go over the deck. 3 copies of Mystic Piper, 3 copies of Dp-Ygo. That's a really hard name to pronounce. 3 copies of, or excuse me, 2 copies of that. 3 copies of Effect Veiler, 2 copies of Dp-Ygo, 2 copies of MegaCapitalG. He's got 3 copies of Tour Guide, 1 Sangan, Max C, 2 Tragodia, 1 Gores, Cyber Dragon, Thunder King, Blackluster Soldier, 3 copies of Chaos Sorcerer, that's pretty cool. 1 copy of Mind Control, 2 copies of Creature Swap, 1 copy of Book of Moon, 1 Monster Reborn, Dark Hole, Pot of Duality, Pot of Avarice, Heavy Storm, 3 MSTs, and 2 Torrential Tributes. So first off, Piper's been out for a while. It hasn't really seen the success that I thought it would get because the deck should have some good matchups against decks like Insector and decks that try and put a whole bunch of cards on the field, decks that need cards on the field to make advantage, because this deck, for the most part, it makes most of its advantage through using good hand traps like Gores, Effect Veiler, Dp-Ygo to break up your plays, but at the same time you can use Mystic Piper to draw extra cards when you use its effect to, you hit a Dp-Ygo, you hit an Effect Veiler, you hit Boyo, you hit that Mech Lord, you're drawing extra cards. And this deck kind of plays like Monarchs, where it doesn't commit basically anything to the field because, it can use tricks like Boyo to get an Effect Veiler from the graveyard, put it in attack mode, and creature swap it to your opponent. So now you take their big monster and run over Effect Veiler. And if for some reason your opponent could break up that play, then maybe you still have the option of using Boyo and Effect Veiler to like make a Formula Synchron or something like that. One of the most interesting things I saw in this deck was that he ran Mech Lord Emperor Wizel, which I really haven't seen this card at all. It's got a pretty interesting effect. It's a machine, 2500 beats, 2500 defense. Anytime a card on your side of the field is destroyed, you can special summon it by its effect. It doesn't look like it can be special summoned from the graveyard or normal summon, so it's pretty cool. It can't be, like somebody can't Monster Reborn it. But in a format where you've got 3 copies of, or 2 copies of Torrential, it doesn't actually seem like it's going to be that hard to get off, let alone that there's always Dark Hole and Mirror Force. So it's pretty cool when your opponent destroys something on your field via like TT, and then bam, you drop this dude, and he's 2500. He beats over Lagia. He beats over, Doka. And this guy can negate spell cards that your opponent activates. Now, that effect might come into play often, but, I think it's definitely one of those things where your opponent probably is going to forget it, and it could end up winning you a game or so. You only see that he only ran 1 Max C, but he's got 2 Dp-Ygos and he's got 3 Effect Veilers, so he's kind of covered. He ran really monster heavy lineup. Gores and 2 copies of Trago. That's pretty cool because, the deck doesn't play any traps, and Book of Moon and TT are pretty much the only defense, so he needs to be able to put big monsters on the field if he doesn't have like creature swap plays, or he doesn't have BLS or something like that on the field. I also found it kind of interesting that he ran Thunder King and Cyber Dragon. I think that those are 2 solid choices because he doesn't just want to rely on the Mystic Piper Boyo tricks. He wants to have other plays, like good solid opening plays. He's got the Tour Guide play, but Cyber Dragon is a card that it can get him back into games. Thunder King is just a good opening turn 1 play against most decks in the format. Game 1 anyway. And then he ran serious Chaos because I think everything in his deck is light or dark except for Max C. So he's got 3 Chaos Sorcerer and BLS. I mean, those are just good cards. We know how broke BLS is. And Chaos Sorcerer is a card that it still kind of gets it in, but most people don't see it coming. I think his spell lineup was pretty solid. The 1 copy of Duality is good here because he's not always going to be special summoning. I mean, he can easily just play a Mystic Piper, draw a couple of cards, and then sit on Gores or Tragodia if you try and rush him or something like that, or set a Torrential Tribute. 3 MSTs is definitely needed in this deck because he doesn't want to have to worry about his cards getting warninged and stuff like that. And one of the things I really liked was his side deck, where he's siding 2 warnings, 2 bottomless, Mirror Force, and Solemn Judgment. So he's siding into just like a more conventional trap lineup. you know, maybe side out the MSTs, maybe side out the mind controls. And I'm pretty sure that's something that most people don't see coming. The decrees are always going to be good because he plays only 2 traps. And the lava golems are also pretty interesting too because, you know, it gets rid of the Dino Rabbit, Exceeds. It can get rid of cards that might give him trouble, stuff like Sheehan or Niteria Beast, cards that he might see. I think Gale is also really good in here. I think that he actually probably could have main deck Gale. The only card that I do have to question in his side deck is Starlight Road. It just seems wildly out of place in this deck. I mean, Heavy Storm does next to nothing against him. Dark Hole shouldn't be that effective because he's running Gorge, Trago, Valor. You know, he's running so many cards that can be special summoned. Not to mention Mechlord Weisel. I'm not really feeling that the Starlight Road. Like, I feel like maybe that should have been a 3rd decree, you know, so that he can hit the decrees faster. But overall, I think this is a very interesting deck. I think that this is probably going to make the deck start seeing more play. And from what I've seen, Piper's price has actually gone up already. So that kind of sucks. But maybe it'll get reprinted in Gold Series 3. So tell me what you guys thought of his deck. How do you think it's going to do for the rest of the format? And please click an ad so that I can jump to HD. Thanks.